we go. Lovely. So good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to speak with you today about our ways of working aren't working. But before that, for those of you who don't perhaps know me, just a little bit about me. I haven't put the slide together expecting anybody to read it. You can actually see this on my website, but I'm often told that my background is quite eclectic, and I'm sort of met with puzzled faces as to, you know, how did I end up going from anatomy, oral cancer research, living in Japan, naturopathic nutrition, a bunch of things in between that, to the world of IT, working for companies like Microsoft, to coaching. And I guess you could say I'm curious by nature, and I absolutely love learning. So a little bit about me. And I guess, you know, after a period of significant illness, I think it was about 2 years, no, it was about 3 years ago now. I keep forgetting the last 2 years of the pandemic. Is anybody else erasing them from their mind? You know, after a period of significant illness, it actually was longer than 2 years ago now. You know, I had a moment, I guess, that, you know, some people might call a bit of an epiphany, where I knew that some things had to change to get me on the right path. And today that path is as a self-leadership coach and a work-life empowerment coach. Most of you, if not all of you, might have heard me say on average we spend around 13 years of our lives at work, and that's a long time to be miserable, and I am deeply passionate about helping people change that. So on to today's presentation. So if you're in any doubt that the way that we're working isn't working, for starters, I'd like to share these stats from the Government Health and Safety Executive. I presented this last year, and they've just updated the figures for 2021, which I share with you. So even before the pandemic, these figures were rising, and these figures, I'm sure you will agree, are a cause for concern. The summary is that in every study that we're looking at, things are headed in the wrong direction. More stress, more depression, mental health issues are on the rise, and there's a greater prevalence of burnout. So much so that the World Health Organization in 2019 updated their definition of burnout, a word that I'm sure many of you have now heard of. And I guess with burnout, one of the key things to know is it isn't a feeling, it's a syndrome born out of chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed. And it's a hot topic right now. There's varying degrees of burnout. You might actually say it's a bit of a spectrum. So what's behind all of this? Well, the reasons that our ways of working aren't working are complicated. I'm not going to attempt to try and simplify that in the 10 minutes that we have today. But some of the reasons are obvious and some are not so. But I'll touch upon two factors that really aren't helping us live or work effectively. And the first one really is that we are always on and always available. And I guess, you know, to start with, technology is becoming more pervasive and persuasive. We're easier to reach than ever before. And, you know, we are connected daily to multiple information sources, text, email, apps, phone chat, etc. And quite often we use the same devices for work and leisure. So the lines between what is our time and what is work time have become very much blurred. Oops, sorry, I've just gone a slide further here. So let me just check. Yeah, have I gone too far? I'm just checking you can still see always in survival mode.
You're all right, I think.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you. Sorry about that. A little bit click happy there. So, you know, what is the last thing that you're doing at night before you go to bed? And what about when you get up in the morning? For most people, it's checking their emails. It's become the norm in many respects. And according to the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, 15% of us are actually constantly monitoring our work emails. And outside of work hours, another 25% check them at least 5 times a day, and that's just email. Statistics show that the workplace technology and the implicit expectations that have accompanied it has taken its toll on health. And a third of employees agree that whilst remote access to their workplace is good, it actually can mean that they are struggling to switch off in their personal time, with almost a fifth of people saying that they feel that they're under surveillance, making them anxious and impacting their sleep. But hoping companies change their ways and your boss finally learns to respect your time may take a little bit longer than you're willing to wait. So as you'll see, the other item I'd like to just touch upon today is demand and capacity. So to start with, there's relentless urgency that characterises most corporate cultures and organisations. And there's a mindset that more, bigger, faster is better. And that is fine when there is infinite capacity to absorb the level of demand. However, this usually means that there's an expectation that the same resources will meet that demand. But demand in our lives is increasingly outweighing capacity. And when you think about the last few years of your working life, it's likely that the demands of your work life have gone up. My experience certainly is that the demand will keep going up and the pace will continue to increase. So what might we be missing? Well, this slide here, I could talk about it all day. And there's a lot of big topics in today's presentation, which this is part of an hour's presentation. But just to touch on this before we move on, is that research has shown that we tend to operate within 4 zones shown here. So survival zone, burnout zone, recovery and performance zone. And the current ways of working have left us oscillating between survival zone and burnout zone. Hence why we are seeing those increased levels of stress, mental health and burnout. I'm sure many of you may recognise some of the emotions that are over here in the survival zone and burnout zone, and perhaps are experiencing these on a daily basis. One thing just to note before I move on is it's absolutely known that we perform at our best when we feel at our best. So it's no surprise that the emotions over in the performance zone are very positive. So what else are we not seeing? So if we take, for example, increasing demand and having the capacity to meet it, over the last 40 years or so, the touted solution has been time management. Who hasn't been on a time management or a getting things done course? I certainly have. But when demands are high and on the increase, our typical response to work is to work longer hours, really, to try and meet that demand. I've just got a few more hours I'll just get this thing done. And when demands are high and on the increase, it is no surprise that we're burning out. However, if time management was the answer as a silver bullet alone, we wouldn't be seeing the issues that we are. And academics have been looking at what needs to change. One of the things is gaining momentum is around paying attention to energy awareness and energy management. And in order to understand energy fundamentally, we need to understand how our bodies are designed to function. It's something I'm deeply passionate about with my anatomy background. But, the key point to note here is that our bodies aren't designed to work flat out. We aren't machines as much as we might like to go, oh, I'm a machine, I've got the badge of busyness, look at me, how much work I'm doing, etc. Our bodies are designed to work and rest periodically. And athletes are well aware of this. They value the rest periods as highly as they value the work and the training periods. And they know it's not just the quantity of the rest, but it is the quality of the rest that largely determines their performance and its sustainability over the long term. They know that if they want to perform at their best, they need to rest in order to recharge their energy. And that's the great thing about their energy, is they can recharge it. Time is finite. We only get 24 hours in a day. So when we talk about energy awareness and energy management, what are we actually talking about? Well, as humans, we have 4 types of energy that are required in order to function optimally. We don't work well with just one type, and there's an interdependence between the types. After all, as I said, we aren't machines, such as a computer or a fridge that runs on one source of energy, electricity, for example. So the 4 sources of energy that we have here and that we need to maintain, I'll just quickly take you through these, is physical energy. How healthy are you? So it's the foundation, it's the base on all the other energy states rest. And that involves things like good nutrition, quality rest, sleep, and regular activity, just some of the things that are needed to optimize this state. Emotional energy, how happy are you? How you feel, as I mentioned earlier, profoundly influences how you perform. Mental energy, how well can you focus on something? If you can focus on one thing at a time, that becomes a very powerful source of energy. Spiritual energy, why are you doing all of this? What's your purpose? The energy of the human spirit, you know, that sense of doing something that really matters to you from that deep sense of purpose. So you can't live a good life in low energy, and with things headed in the wrong direction in terms of the ways that we're working, I believe it's time that we look at the problems that we're facing a little bit differently with a fresh mindset. And whilst time management has its place, it's not helping us meet the demands in a sustainable way. Every single thing we do requires energy, and not much is possible without it. Having burned out twice myself, not a badge that I proudly wear, but I can vouch for that firsthand. And given everything that we're seeing in the news, you know, I really do believe it's time that we started to make some serious shifts and get ourselves out of survival zone. Don't you? You know, how would your life be different that instead of feeling exhausted in the morning, you woke feeling fired up? Just imagine how different your day would be. What would you be doing that you're not doing right now? So only 9 or 10 minutes to kind of skim across quite a few sort of big meaty topics was never going to be enough to tackle everything as much as I would like to it in the depth. But as I close off today, should you like to know more about, you know, the energy awareness, energy management, there's 3 ways here that you can get in touch. You can find out more. I've got various checklists and guides. Also, if it is specifically around work-life empowerment, I have a work-life strategy session that you can book in for. And if we aren't already connected on LinkedIn, etc., please do reach out. And of course, there's more information available on my website. So thank you very much for your attention. Much appreciated.